Nevada, the great silver state and the gold. New tales of Nevada, the stories, people working hard to make a home. Old tales of Nevada.
Hello everybody, welcome to Old Tales of Nevada, past and present. Today we have a great show because it's a story about American opportunity, and we'll tell you the whole story right after we get back from this break, so stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Hugh Marshall from the Marshall Mint, Virginia City and Reno, Nevada. I'm to introduce you to the Let 'em Run Wild Horse Mustang series, which depicts the wild Mustangs herd running free, mare in its foal, the wild Mustangs fighting for love. These ingots are a limited edition double-struck product on 1 troy ounce 3-pine silver and are only available at the Marshall Mint, Virginia City or Reno, Nevada. Get your piece of history today.
All of us at Shoeman's Custom Cycle are ready to get you and your Harley ready for the road. From oil and tire changes to high-performance engine upgrades and dyno tuning, we at Shoeman's have got you covered with experienced factory-certified mechanics and a full-service machine shop loaded with parts and accessories. Shoeman's Custom Cycle has been serving Northern Nevada since 1988. So ride on down to Shoeman's Custom Cycle at 275 East 4th Street in downtown Reno.
Shoeman's Custom Cycle, we're the biker's bike shop.
Welcome, everybody, to Old Tales of Nevada, past and present. I'm John O'Brien, the host of the show this week, and with me is my good buddy, the executive producer, and on top of that, this week, our special guest, Roy Marshall. Good to see you, Roy.
For a change.
Yeah. What a story we have to tell today, because we're going to be talking about a story of American opportunity, and the story revolves all around your family, the Cullens and the Krantz. And especially we're going to focus on your namesake, Roy Cullen, your grandfather. So what a story to be told. It's just amazing, your grandfather and other members of your family that are just a tremendous American success story. And to have you here in Reno, Nevada, and in our midst and doing what you do for the community just brings us great pride. So we wanted to take this program to let people know what the history is behind you and why you do what you do today. Sure. So thank you for allowing us to do that today. We're going to be focusing on two families in particular, and the Krantz family and the Cohen family. And you might just pick up that picture there of your grandfather and your grandmother, who you had a wonderful relationship with. And those people were part of the great legacy before you came to be part of this great family, and we want to hear the story. So let's begin, because we have a lot to cover here, and we want to go way back to the Krantz family and the Cohen family. And you, Roy, nobody has better knowledge of that than you do. So let's talk about the Krantz, okay? And the Krantz is Lily Krantz, the wife of Roy Cullen. So tell us about that side of the family first.
Well, she came from a little town called Schulenburg, just outside of Houston.
Right.
And Hugh Roy came from Palestine, Texas, initially.
Okay.
So that's way off in the bushes in East Texas, where my granddad came from. But they met and fell in love, and he had a tremendous interest in his family and in supplying them with
Now, talking about the Krantz family, just a little more detail there. The Krantz family, he was, the father of Lily, was a fairly successful businessman. He had some
in
pretty... In
Schulenburg, he was a banker.
He was a banker, is that correct? And he was involved in agriculture and other things.
And he was fully German.
Oh, he was German, okay.
The whole Krantz group was.
Okay.
We're all Germans.
Okay, so very successful family. And then tell us about the Cohen family, because they have a lot of great history there.
Yeah, well, my granddad's almost 100% Scotch, and his family comes from the northwest coast of Scotland.
Okay.
In a little town called Cullen.
All right. Oh, really?
Yeah. And my dad came from a town 8 miles away from there named Douglas.
Okay, and his name was Douglas Marshall, of course, and we'll talk more about him as we go along. So the Cullens migrated from Europe.
From Germany to Scotland.
To Scotland and then to?
Over to America.
Okay, whereabouts in America were they established?
In the southern states.
Southern states? Okay. And they became involved in politics, as you tell me, right? Back there? Like Ezekiel. What was Ezekiel Cullen as far as politics goes?
Well, he was one of the main legislators in Texas during the early 1810s, 1830s.
Okay, but before that, what was he?
He was in the cotton business here and there and did
okay, but in Georgia, wasn't he governor there?
Yeah, he was governor in Georgia, and his dad was governor in North Carolina.
Right. So it was a prominent family. They were definitely important people and important families even before they got to Texas. I was going to ask you, why did Ezekiel make the move from Georgia to Texas? Were they in Texas originally and then moved to Georgia, or
No, they moved from Texas largely because of the beginning of the slave question.
Okay, so they went to Georgia, and that's where they got involved, and North Carolina, or whatever, and that's where they got involved. So then, after being governor, he decided to go back to Texas. Whereabouts in Texas did he go? Was it Austin?
He lived in about 2 or 3 different places in Texas, not Houston, though.
Oh, not Houston. Well, Houston was still a couch.
San Antonio was more or less.
San Antonio
was a Cullens town to start with.
Right.
All lived there. Yeah.
But evidently, Ezekiel must have got involved in politics there because he was a mover and shaker as far as education goes, right? So, tell us what he was able to do there.
You know, in those days, almost everybody was Democratic.
Yeah, Democratic
in Texas, and they were farmers.
They were farmers.
And they would raise grain.
Okay.
And my granddad was an order buyer at the cotton and grain gin.
Okay, but let's finish Ezekiel here for a sec. Ezekiel became involved in some sort of politics because he was the one that instituted the educational system, right? What did he start there, Ezekiel? Was he... he started the public schools, didn't he?
Well, this was what he did.
Oh, you got the actual stuff.
He founded public education in the Republic of Texas.
Let me see. This is the actual.
And that is the actual bill.
This is the actual bill
that went through the legislature.
Okay. Now, was he a politician at that point?
No.
Ezekiel?
No, he was a rancher and a family-owned guy.
But he was a pusher as far as education goes.
Well, yeah.
So he was the one that was...
And that's kind of where my grandfather got it from, too.
Yeah.
That's why he wanted to do that, University of Houston.
Right. That's where their interest in education came from.
And, of course, I'm educational trustee of the foundation.
Right. So this is the actual bill, and it went through Congress and everything else to make public education possible in Texas. Wow, what an accomplishment.
I think it was 120-acre tract, the first one.
Is that right? Yeah. All right. So now Ezekiel was the grandfather of Uroy Cullen?
Yeah.
Or the father?
The father.
He was the father of Uroy Cullen. Okay, I just want to follow the whole thing there.
No, that's not right.
That's not right.
No. His immediate family.
Oh, yeah, it was Cicero.
Cicero, yeah.
Yes.
I don't know where that picture of them went. But,
yeah. So we had Cicero Cullen.
Yeah, and they lived in San Antonio.
Okay, and his wife's name was Cicero Cullen was...
I can't think of it.
Who was he married to? Margaret, wasn't it? No, not Margaret. They lived in San Antonio.
Yeah,
though.
I got it on a picture.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it was Cicero and his wife, and his wife was a wonderful person, from what I understand.
Oh, yeah.
Your grandfather's mother was a wonderful person and a very smart person, as I read in the book. By the way, this is the book right here, Roy Cullen, and it's a story of American opportunity, and this is still available in print from Prentice Hall is the publisher or the
It's a
printer
great
of
book
that
to read. It really is. It's
fabulous.
Easy to read, and it'll definitely spur you along to want to get out there and do something.
Yeah. So anyway, Cicero and his wife, they had Roy Cullen, and Roy was quite the young man, I'm telling you. He started, even though your family was very involved in education, Ezekiel being the one to bring public schools to Texas, as far as Roy goes, he went through a certain amount of school. And then from
sixth grade,
and then because of something that happened at school with the principal, he comes home and tells his mom, "I've had it with school." Yeah. How old was he then? About 12? 12 years old. And of course, his mom wasn't too happy about the decision, right?
Yeah, they kicked him out of the house, and he went down and sold newspapers and candy for a while.
He went to work for a candy store, right?
Yeah.
And tell us why that was such a great experience for him.
Well, it gave him a chance to meet more and more people and socialize with them.
Yeah, but business-wise, how did it help him?
Well, by selling something and then getting something in a return, because he developed a great relationship with all the farmers that went to the cotton gin and sold their stuff over there.
Yeah.
So they trusted him to drill for oil on their property, because a lot of those guys didn't trust the oil business.
Right.
The idea, the whole thing was crazy.
It was crazy.
Black stuff. What are you going to do?
What are you going to do
out of the ground? Then what are you going to do with it?
Right.
Don't bring it here.
But that experience at the candy store caused him to become self-taught.
Sure.
The book describes him as being up in his room while the rest of the family was downstairs having a good social time, because her mom was kind of a positive and outgoing person, and they would be singing songs and playing the piano downstairs, and he'd be stuck up in his room. Not stuck, but up in his room, learning math, learning cost and profit, all of that kind of thing, and that held him in great stead for his future life in business.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
it probably taught him reading in the process, because you had to read things too. So you know how to read the important things.
The important things, right? Yeah. Exactly. But he was also an adventurer in some ways. He used to swim in the San Antonio River.
Yeah.
And tell us that story about the whirlpool. Do you recall that from the book?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. What did he do?
Well, he had a friend that swam offshore. Well, first of all, these vortexes are not uncommon.
Yeah, whirlpool.
Yeah, whirlpools in this size rivers. And there are a lot of people that get drowned in those.
Right.
So he took the chance of wanting to look at the bottom of the river and going down under the water in the whirlpool.
Yeah, and he did.
And he came back out again.
He came back out.
Much to his friend's amazement.
Yeah, for sure, because most of them would drown.
Yeah.
But he watched the logs go in and out, and he knew that could happen if he just relaxed. Well, I was amazed by that story. I mean, who would take a chance like that? Well, listen, we're already down to our end of first break, so let's do that. We'll take a break, come back, and move forward from his early days to his business in cotton, and then the oil business. All right, stay tuned. We'll be back with more old tales of Nevada, past and present. An American Opportunity is the story. Right after this. Buy Nevada First Gift Shop and Visitor Center at the Reno Town Mall is the place to buy local Nevada-owned products. There is over 4,000 square feet of unique items to choose from. Art, jewelry, books, music, inventions, clothing, candy, pottery, toys, even Nevada-made wine and more. Why, you can even purchase a gift basket full of Nevada-owned products. Buy Nevada First Gift Shop, located at the Reno Town Mall, 4001 Virginia Street in Reno. Buy local first.
Hi, I'm Paula.
And I'm Dan. We're the producers of the Tanner's Marketplace Antiques and Craft Shows at the Livestock Event Center on Wells Avenue.
I'd also like to tell you about our everyday location. We're at Somewhere in Time on South Virginia Street. We're Antique Antiques, booth number 46.
You'll find paintings by Nevada artists, collectible glass, vintage jewelry, Native American jewelry and baskets, antiques and unusual to unique items.
Find it all at Antique Antiques inside Somewhere in Time at 1313 South Virginia Street.
Come see us.
Somewhere in Time is a place to find what will be treasured for all time. A store full of the unexpected. High-end die-cast models, vintage and antique furniture, Fenton glassware, kerosene lamps, toy trains, vintage neon, a new home decor selection, brothel and casino memorabilia, jewelry creations, and cameras in large collections throughout the store. Bring the family and find the unexpected that will be treasured for all time at Somewhere in Time on Virginia Street in Reno.
Spring arrives at Boutique Elegante. The fabulous colors of spring, all in denim fabrics, but with accents on color, color, color. Of course, sweaters are a must. The newest color block in soft weaves. Influenced by the rainbow, beautiful little dresses, gaucho sets, the blending of fabrics to create caprice sets. Exquisite fashions for your tropical holiday, a special dinner, or the opera. You'll find all of this and so much more at Boutique Elegante.
Welcome back to Old Tales Nevada, past and present, and we're talking with our special guest today, Roy Marshall, and talking about his great family history. And these people in Roy's history helped to develop the state of Texas, the oil business. I mean, so many different things that they were prominently known for. And Roy is up here in Nevada, and a lot of people don't know the story, so that's why we're doing it today. Mm-hmm. So we got a good start. We got a good start about the Krantz family and the Cohen family and the early days of Roy Cullen. It's all in this book called A Story of American Opportunity.
Yeah.
And
you can get it at Amazon pretty still.
Yeah, you can still get it places, so I'm sure you're going to get a little rush on it. Now, you get a royalty on that now? All right, so he goes from the candy store, and he needed to make money, okay, right? Mm-hmm. So he goes to visit his dad, Cesar, because there became a separation there between his mom and his dad, Cicero, and Cicero went to Dallas, I understand.
Yep.
And so Roy would go up there and visit with his dad, and somehow, some way, he became involved in the cotton business, mm-hmm. and that was a learning experience as well for him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because you had to not only be a buyer of cotton, but you had to know about the quality of cotton, right?
Oh, yeah.
So he had to spend a lot of time hearing and learning because he was a self-taught kind of guy. Mm-hmm. And tell us do you know what it means to class cotton?
Well, all cotton in those days was made into the cotton gin to take the oil out of it.
Right.
That's where we got the cotton seed oil from.
Okay.
And the cotton part that we use for sponging and medicine, whatever, it comes too, but it goes to two totally different processes there.
So your dad, your grandfather, mm-hmm. Because of the type of business it was, he had to travel around and go to the farmer's field mm-hmm. and walk through the field and take the cotton in his hand. And by doing this,
he was like an order buyer and salesman.
Yeah.
Very similar to how cattlemen are, where they have an order buyer.
Yeah. So he had to go down through the fields, take this cotton in his hand, mm-hmm. and feel it and rub it and do whatever's necessary to classify it. And then he and the farmer, right, had to negotiate.
They'd bid on it at the cotton gin.
At a price, right?
And then, could be a couple of drinks in between, too.
Yeah, there was that.
Finalize the deal.
Yeah. But he became very, very proficient as a buyer of cotton. Mm-hmm. And that made, I don't know if he made a fortune doing it, but he certainly...
He met all the farmers that way.
Yeah, he was very clever, too.
Yeah.
Because the telephone... started to be used as a way to contact the farmers.
Yeah.
And do you remember that story in the book there?
Oh, yeah. He'd get they're all party lines, too.
And he'd tie up the party line.
Yeah, tie the party line. You got it. Then nobody could hear you.
Nobody.
Him.
He was the first one in, and he was the first one to the farmer. Mm. And he became known as an honest broker, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was an honest man. he wasn't going to take advantage of.
He didn't take advantage of it. He wanted to trade even. That was his motto.
Yeah, he wanted to trade even.
I don't mind trading you, but I don't want to get out traded.
Yeah, right. So he was smart, but he was also fair.
Oh, yeah.
And so that developed a reputation for him, right, in the cotton business. I also understand that he, and at some point in his young career, now we're talking this kid is 18, 19, 20, 21 years old when he's doing this kind of stuff. And to have that kind of respect from a farmer had to be an amazing feat on his part, right?
Yeah, I think he was very, very well respected. He had an ability to more or less get a guy up against the wall and get out of him what he wanted.
Yeah, in a nice way.
In a nice way.
Yeah, that's right. So that held him in great respect, and in fact, he was able to help politicians along the way. He did. Did he ever get involved in?
No.
He never ran for office.
No.
But he helped others be elected to office because of his influence with the farmers back there, right?
Yeah, and actually what happened was World War I came along in about 1813, 1814. And then as they got fully into that by the 30s, 2 or 3 different things happened that changed the economy of the country.
Right.
And as that happened, everybody saw a tremendous need for oil.
Yeah.
And then the whole attitude changed. The farmers said, "Oh, you better get out and take a look at my place.
Yeah.
Let's go find some oil."
Yeah. He was very clever during those difficult economic periods. Yeah. The way he bought and sold cotton back in those days, he got through that in pretty good shape, didn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, financially, he didn't take a huge a hit as some of the others.
Well, believe it or not, they all dressed very similar, and they would wear, most people down there would wear white linen suits.
Oh, wow.
Or some type of cotton suit.
Yeah.
Because it was so hot.
So cotton still had to be used, even though it was depressed.
Yeah.
Financially or economically, cotton was still had its use.
Yeah. So you can imagine, a couple hundred of these guys trying to bid for the better copper at the cotton gin.
Yeah.
And if you already knew to start with, you could do pretty good.
Yeah. So eventually,
he did his homework.
So eventually, he became rather successful, and he finally built his first real home.
Yeah.
And that was what town? That was can't remember from the book.
Outside of Schulenburg.
Outside of Schulenburg, but it's a bigger town. It was a little bigger
to the
town.
north.
Yeah, and so.
But what happened is a oil field was found on somebody's farm called the Spindletop.
Okay.
Which was almost simultaneously the first oil well found in the United States next to the one in Pennsylvania. It was called the Drake.
I remember the story about the Drake, yeah.
So those 2 finds got, the find got him started, and then he found the Blue Ridge oil property.
Yeah, let me ask you this before we get too far into the oil. How did he make that transition from the cotton business to oil? What made him go that way? Do you
It's
recall?
the biggest power around any farmer that you can ever see.
Yeah, but how did he find it? How did he make that move from?
He would watch the steam going on in those places and how bad it was to try and want to come up with anything different.
Okay. Now
Henry Ford and his wife had already been experimenting with dropping gas onto the carburetor and igniting it.
Okay.
Whatever. So there was, all these kind of scientific things were going on at the same time.
Okay.
And
But he was still in the cotton business, though.
Yeah.
Okay. So what happened that got him into the oil business? Was it a friend of his that came to him and said, "Hey, we ought to drill a
savings and overhead"? That's what argument he used in every letter. Yes.
Savings and overhead.
Such a tremendous savings and overhead and danger instead of using.
But how did he find his first oil well? How did he get into that business? That's what I'm trying to find out.
Well, they found it first, as I said, at Spindletop, and he was involved in that.
Okay, was he involved in it with the cotton business first of all,
No.
or what drew him to that? What got him there?
I think really that
Somebody came to him and said,
I can tell you some rather unusual things about him, which may, cue in on what you seem to be interested in.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah,
because
he was a dowser, just like I am. And he also was a mind reader, and he also could find things on the map.
Yeah,
without ever going out to the place.
Because he saw charts. He was very familiar with charts. So is it because he had a vision, and I'm not talking about a supernatural vision, but a business vision of this new opportunity with oil, that he moved from cotton to oil?
The only way you can really understand it is a guy that would drill 230 times in the same place looking for the oil.
Is that what he did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anybody that spends that kind of time with minerals or in any way eventually will somehow just suddenly be able to find it almost automatically.
Yeah, it becomes
you spend your whole life doing it and give up your life doing it.
Yeah.
He'd leave it.
What was his first success? What was his first successful drill? Where did that happen? Is that the Blue Ridge?
That was the first very successful.
Okay, now where was that located?
That was further up to the east, northeast Texas.
Northeast Texas. Okay, what city would be near there? Not Lubbock.
Palestine.
Oh, Palestine, Texas. Okay, so he just because of his knowledge of charts.
He knew that area too because that's where he came from.
Yeah,
he was born there and fooled around there as a kid.
Yeah. Now, there are stories told about these farmers in Texas that would plow their land and the oil would seep up out of the ground. Was it that plentiful back there? And you could actually see it seeping up out of the ground. They didn't know what the heck to do with it, right?
See, Texas flooded 27 times, 7 times real bad during the ocean eras.
When it came up in...
it went all the way down from the Arctic melted, came all the way down, forming the Gulf Coast, New Orleans, that whole area, by runoff from the north. Okay,
so the farmers didn't know what to do with, but your granddad did, okay? And how did he get his equipment to do his drilling?
Well,
where did that...
See, when he went to West Texas, he naturally seen that there was full of fossils in these road cuts, too.
Right.
Which looked like little creatures of some kind.
Yeah, he saw that.
Yeah, he saw that, so that he knew, well, hey, we go to a place where it's hot and wet, and we may have a whole bunch of these critters still alive.
Yeah. And
that's really what he thought.
That's really...
And then he got the witness for it at that point, and then he dowsed from it. But he never told anybody he did that.
What about the technology to drill a well? I mean, did they have such thing back there, or did he have to come up with all that himself?
Wooden oil rigs.
Wooden oil rigs, right.
Yeah, with a wooden peg drill.
Yeah, so he's the one that came up with that technology to
Very
get it
dangerous because they became unstable if they were left for any time at all.
Yeah.
Just like anything wood would.
Yeah. Well, your grandfather became known as one of the great wildcatters.
Yeah.
That's what he did.
Yeah, because that's the activity of wildcatting is going to an area where they already drilled for oil before, they couldn't find it, he went for broke and left.
Yeah.
He was a wildcatter because he'd take the risk and go out there and get that property and then feel, oh, I believe there's something deeper here.
Yeah. In fact, he became known, he had a nickname, didn't he? Drill him deeper, Cullen, or something?
Yeah, drill him deeper, Cullen.
That's right. So that, like Gulf Oil, just for example, would go in there and drill, and they'd think they had a dry hole, and then he would come back and say, no, let's drill a little bit. All of a sudden, because he knew the lay of the land, he was able to discover oil. So fantastic. So what was his, I guess I'm running over here. We're going to take a break, you right? Because I'm about a minute over. I get so involved in the story. Let's take a break here, and we'll come back and we'll get into the oil business and then bring us up to modern times. So stay tuned. Old Tales of Nevada coming your way right after this.
Spring arrives at Boutique Elegante. The fabulous colors of spring, all in denim fabrics, but with accents on color, color, color. Of course, sweaters are a must. The newest color block in soft weaves. Influenced by the rainbow, beautiful little dresses, gaucho sets, the blending of fabrics to create caprice sets. Exquisite fashions for your tropical holiday, a special dinner, or the opera. You'll find all of this and so much more at Boutique Elegante.
Hi, I'm Chris from Past Time at Somewhere in Time. Are you looking for that one-of-a-kind gift that you can't find in the big department store? I have something for all occasions. Got stuff? Need to know whether or not it has value or how to sell it? We can help with that too. Come and see me Tuesday or Wednesday at Past Time in Somewhere in Time at 1313 South Virginia Street in Reno. Just ask for Chris.
Deluxe Travel, locally owned and operating since 1991, is the home for travel to Mexico and Central and South America. The crew at Deluxe Travel is bilingual, trustworthy, thorough, and caring. They will do everything possible to make your dream vacation the best it can be. Now is the time to book for winter travel, so stop by the office at 100 California Avenue or call 686-7000. You can also check us out on our website at deluxetravelLTD.com.
At Deluxe Travel, we sell dreams. Come in and plan yours.
Hi, I'm Paula.
And I'm Dan. We're the producers of the Tanner's Marketplace Antiques and Craft Shows at the Livestock Event Center on Wells Avenue.
I'd also like to tell you about our everyday location. We're at Somewhere in Time on South Virginia Street. We're Antique Antiques, booth number 46.
You'll find paintings by Nevada artists, collectible glass, vintage jewelry, Native American jewelry and baskets, antiques and unusual to unique items.
Find it all at Antique Antiques inside Somewhere in Time at 1313 South Virginia Street.
Come see us.
Hi, I'm Hugh Marshall from the Marshall Men, Virginia City and Reno, Nevada. Come to introduce you to the Let 'em Run Wild Horse Mustang series, which depicts the wild Mustangs herd running free, mare and its foal, the wild Mustangs fighting for love. These ingots are a limited edition double-struck product on 1 troy ounce 3-pine silver and are only available at the Marshall Mint, Virginia City or Reno, Nevada. Get your piece of history today.
We're back here in Old Tales of Nevada, past and present, and we're having a very special conversation with Uroy Marshall, talking about his grandfather, Uroy Cullen, and his grandmother, Lily Cullen, who was a big part of the success of the early Cohen family there in Texas. And we were just talking about Uroy Cullen and his oil discoveries. So he was known as one of the great wildcatters in Texas, made a ton of money as he went along doing that. What was his biggest discovery of oil that you know of?
Well, the biggest discovery was made around a little town called Refugio. It's actually spelled Refugio.
Okay.
And it was called the Tom O'Connor oil field.
Why that name?
That was the name of the ranch that it was on.
Okay. So it was a large ranch, and he was able to get the mineral rights of it, but I guess between the Cullens, or his company, what was the name of his company, by the way, at that time?
Quintana.
And he named that because why?
Well, he was on a river down in Mexico called Quintana Roo, and he had 5 family members of his kids.
Oh, okay.
So he figured that this would match because he wanted to see his kids in the business and make a lot of money.
All right, super. Yeah. So he finds this huge amount of oil. I heard it was at least a mile deep. He had to drill down. How far did you say about to find it?
Well, the first parts of it were found just a few hundred feet deep.
Yeah, I mean, because it used to come up, bubble up out of the.
See, those things will actually run like in fault lines under the ground and then slip back into kind of a pool.
Ah.
And it's the heat of the earth and the water that the oil is sitting on that allows you to suck it out of there with like a straw.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that's how it lays.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
So because of that huge find, he became a very wealthy man. We're talking billions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
In revenues from that oil field and the other oil fields that he had operating then. So he became very wealthy, he and Lily. And he had a boyhood dream, didn't he, about living in a house, a big house.
A big white house.
A big white house. And so he and Lily at some point built that house. Where did they build it at? that? Was it in Houston?
They built it right in River Oaks, right at the area below the River Oaks Country Club.
Oh, no kidding.
He owned all the country club ground and donated it to them for the River Oaks Country Club.
Okay. And so that was outside of Houston? That was a suburb?
It's right in Houston, yeah.
Right in Houston, okay. So this opportunity that he developed just turned out to be a fantastic thing for him. And he became so wealthy. This was during what, World War II or before?
During World War II.
World War II. And he became so wealthy that the government during the war actually approached him about getting some capital to fight the war, right?
Yeah, he loaned them $865,700 in total.
Total, yeah, so they could fight the war. Wow, that's pretty
well. It wasn't just to fight the war; to feed the troops.
Feed the troops.
Into a bad way with it.
Oh, okay. So now, when he was operating this huge company, it turns out to be, he also had a great family life, didn't he?
Yeah.
He and Lily had how many children altogether?
Well, they had 5 kids.
5 kids.
The boy died.
Oh, okay.
So I had my mother, Wilhelmina, and Roy and Harry.
Okay, and your mother being Margaret was her name?
Yeah.
Okay.
My mother was Margaret. Then I had one other aunt named Agnes and one other named Alice. Alice.
Okay, very good.
She
And
had a bit of a mental problem.
yeah, and then Margaret grew up, and sure enough, she got married.
Yeah.
And she got married to a fellow named Douglas Bertrand Marshall.
That was my mom's, yeah.
That's your dad, Douglas Marshall.
Douglas Bertrand Marshall, yeah.
Yeah, right. And so did you have a lot of interaction with your grandfather and your grandmother over the years that they were there?
Yeah, I really did.
Was it close? Was you, Roy, your grandfather, a very caring individual as far as his grandkids were concerned? And was he a family man, I guess is what I'm saying?
He was really a family man.
Yeah, you really enjoyed your relationship with
him. He had in their living room, I had my own box that I played with, and the other kids were older than me and coming in asking for a date, or one wanted to get married, or one thing or another. So I heard all this stuff as these kids came in here to my grandparents, and my grandfather would sit in a chair and he would roll cigars.
Yeah,
which is kind of an experience how you do it, to take it out and do them.
Yeah,
roll up a cigar.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And then I told you about how he liked to rub his fingers all the time.
Yeah.
I kind of concluded in time this was his activity of how he would roll the cigar.
Ah, okay.
Because he didn't want to get it all over his white suit.
My dad used to smoke cigars, but he didn't roll them. He used to buy them at Dutch Masters, and I remember those names.
Yeah.
And I remember being in the living room with my father, not as big a house as you had, but walk into the living room, he's smoking one of those stogies, and the smoke was so thick, you had to go like that to see the TV, you know. But you probably had the same kind of experience.
Oh, yeah.
You remember the aroma of those cigars?
Oh, he made me smoke them with him, I'll tell you. Oh. Yeah. They'd keep me up all night.
Would you consider him, even though he was so good at business and had so much money, did you consider him to be a kind and loving person?
Very much so.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. So did he take you under his wing and teach you the business of oil or geology? I know, because you have a great knowledge of rocks. Did he teach you those charts and how to read them and things like that?
Well, all the activities of dowsing comes through the hands and goes through the feet.
Right. Okay.
And the feet, believe it or not, and with our beings, have the ability to douse down between about 4,500 and 12,000 feet.
Really? Wow. So he taught you that, but there also had to be the technical side, too. It wasn't totally just on feel, was it?
Yeah, and that was some of the hardest thing that came with the oil business, was how to make it easier and better to find and develop.
Right.
Because it was not only very crude, the wells, but it was dangerous, too.
Dangerous. Well, they had a lot of gushers, right? I mean, where people were actually killed.
Yeah.
What do they call it, a breakout or something?
Well, they just had almost everyone was a gusher during those days.
Yeah, right, because they had no way to pipe
and
it.
those guys wear those white suits and say, "Oh boy, let's go out there." And they'd come back totally black.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
but that was a good sign.
A white silk suit.
That was a good.
What are you doing out there?
That was a good sign. That means money, though, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So you were living a lot of the time in that great white house.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was it patterned after the White House? No. Was it a ranch house? Was it two-story?
A Mediterranean built style, but built by Lalique, the glass company.
Okay, how large was it?
It was about 20,000, 25,000 square feet.
No kidding. So you had room to roam, huh?
Well, we had a bomb shelter that was as big as a bowling alley underneath it.
No kidding, really.
And then the kids could play on it. We put on our roller skates.
Yeah. Now, when you were young, Roy, and you being in those kind of surroundings, did you understand that you were involved with a very, very wealthy family? Did you have when did you finally realize that you were in a kind of a special environment there?
Well, anytime I wasn't with them, they put me with Lieutenant Fisher or Captain Fisher, who was head of the police department.
Oh,
so I'd ride with him in his car all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that
they made sure if they left for a while, they'd leave me with somebody they really trusted. But
okay, but did you feel that you were spoiled as a youngin', or did you feel that they tried to keep you grounded? Your folks?
I wasn't that way. I started studying hydrothermal nuclear physics when I was 10, 12 years old.
You were like your grandfather.
So the ability to get the information was there. So I was always reading something.
Yeah, you were very studious.
Trying to figure out something.
Yeah. If you've been to the house that we're sitting in, this is the museum room, but right next to us is the library, and you got thousands of books there, and you said you read them all.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff besides books that are in there, too, that need to be straightened out, probably.
Yeah, but...
I read a lot of books, but I'm not a very good librarian.
But you had that same gene like your grandfather, because that's what he would do. He did a lot of reading, and that's how he learned those charts and was able to identify areas of oil. And
well, you got to remember, the way that it really was is that before the turn of the century, all knowledge that mankind had came in the form of one type of philosophy or another. And epistemology developed psychology and sociology. Yeah. And then we had biology, which is a very early science. And after the turn of the century, knowledge began to specialize rapidly.
Yeah, well,
and now you see how specialized.
Oh, absolutely.
Nuclear science,
almost any field. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So your dad, your grandfather, your grandmother had.
My dad was highly intelligent, and
Douglas.
He would have made a great scientist.
Yeah.
He wanted to take aeronautical engineering at the University of Minnesota, but they ended up drafting him into the World War II.
Yeah, that leads me to another segment of your family I want to talk about after we come back from the break, is the Douglas and Margaret part of your life, and how they influenced you and what they were involved in as far as business is concerned. So let's take a break here, and we'll come back and have a further conversation with you, Roy Marshall, on Old Tales of Nevada, past and present.
You have got to come and see our bridal designer collection here at Precision Diamonds. We bought our building, lower the overhead. That means everyday low prices to you.
Buy Nevada First Gift Shop and Visitor Center at the Reno Town Mall is the place to buy local Nevada-owned products. There is over 4,000 square feet of unique items to choose from. Art, jewelry, books, music, inventions, clothing, candy, pottery, toys, even Nevada-made wine and more. Why, you can even purchase a gift basket full of Nevada-owned products. Buy Nevada First Gift Shop, located at the Reno Town Mall, 4001 Virginia Street in Reno. Buy local first. Somewhere in Time is the place to find what will be treasured for all time. A store full of the unexpected. High-end die-cast models, vintage and antique furniture, Fenton glassware, kerosene lamps, toy trains, vintage neon, a new home decor selection, brothel and casino memorabilia, jewelry creations, and cameras in large collections throughout the store. Bring the family and find the unexpected that will be treasured for all time at Somewhere in Time on Virginia Street in Reno.
All of us at Shoeman's Custom Cycle are ready to get you and your Harley ready for the road. From oil and tire changes to high-performance engine upgrades and dyno tuning, we at Shoeman's have got you covered with experienced factory-certified mechanics and a full-service machine shop loaded with parts and accessories. Shoeman's Custom Cycle has been serving Northern Nevada since 1988. So ride on down to Shoeman's Custom Cycle at 275 East 4th Street in downtown Reno.
Shoeman's Custom Cycle with a biker's bike shop.
Deluxe Travel, locally owned and operating since 1991, is the home for travel to Mexico and Central and South America. The crew at Deluxe Travel is bilingual, trustworthy, thorough, and caring. They will do everything possible to make your dream vacation the best it can be. Now is the time to book for winter travel, so stop by the office at 100 California Avenue or call 686-7000. You can also check us out on our website at deluxetravelLTD.com.
At Deluxe Travel, we sell dreams. Come in and plan yours.
You have got to come and see our bridal designer collection here at Precision Diamonds. We bought our building, lower the overhead. That means everyday low prices to you.
We're back here for our last segment of Old Tales of Nevada Past and Present. Hardly enough time to tell the story of the Krantz family, the Cohen family, the Marshall family, of which Roy is definitely a part of. And but we're going to try anyway. We might have to do a part two, Roy. But what a family history you have, and so much good has been done by the family. Your family, including your dad, who is a very special man himself. Was a great businessman, but also a philanthropist as well. Your mom, I don't know too much about your mom, but she must have been a very special person as well, right?
Well, she was at heart an archaeologist, but she loved to be charitable to all types of like the Audubon Society and anything dealing with nature or dogs or cats or whatever.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's a great way to stay generous, is to love dogs and cats and animals, With me on set now, too, is Larry Elliott, a good friend of our show, and he's got a special treat coming up for you as we end our segment here today. So, Larry, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, John.
You're welcome. And you probably have enjoyed the story so far, right? I mean,
I learned a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And we're just touching it's a thumbnail sketch, really. If you want to learn more about the history of the Cohen family, the Krantz family, and beyond, get the book. It's called A Story of American Opportunity, and that's all I see in that man, your grandfather and your dad, too. Now, let's talk about the more modern family here, the Marshall family. Douglas turned out to be quite the businessman himself, and like you say, your mom was a very nice and wonderful, generous person. But what kind of businesses did your dad get himself involved with?
Well, he liked horses more than anything else, and particularly Arabian horses.
Arabian horses. So he did some great things down there.
And Angus cattle.
Angus cattle.
From Scotland.
Yeah. So what did he establish down there? What was the name?
Well, he established the Arabian Horse Registry, the Arabian Horse Stud Book, the English Horse Stud Book of the Arabians, and he developed the registry with 3 other gentlemen who registered the Arabian horses as they came into the country.
Yeah. What was the name of the ranch down there?
Glenlock Farms.
Glenlock Farm. How many acres was that?
2,500.
2,500 acres, and that's where you spent most of your childhood, right?
Yeah.
Riding horses and taking care of those Arabians.
Well, we would show basically about 20 shows a year, and I do about 7 or 8 or 10 of them.
Really? And you were a heck of a rider.
Well, I ride for the brand.
Yeah. That's amazing. Now, your reputation out of that farm became world renowned for the quality of the horse, right?
Well, actually, what happened is that when there were almost no Arabian horses in the United States prior to the 1960s.
Really? Did not know that.
The Arabian horses were almost all imported.
Okay.
So it went from like 1,200 horses in total in the United States to about 3.5 million by the 1970s.
Right. So your family had a great deal to do with the initial
that breed, and that breed is the breed that would be used to crossbreed with other horses to make them have more stamina, ability,
speed,
and to their ability to run without water for long distances is well known.
No kidding. Yeah. So your reputation in that ranch and the quality of the horse not only made it more popular in the United States, but it took you to the Middle East, didn't it?
A whole lot, yeah.
Yeah, because didn't the kings and the shaws and
they're the ones that have the horses, yeah.
Yeah, isn't that where you sold?
My dad would go there and buy the horses from them, and then I'd go with my mom out to the till with the archaeologists.
Okay, so it was more the other way. You would go there to buy the breed and bring it back to the United States. I see. Okay, you weren't over there necessarily selling horses to the Shah.
No.
But what was really neat about that whole experience, and we see it in the other room here, is that you met some very, very important historical figures over there in the Middle East. Name a couple of people you knew.
Actually, what happened is that in the late 1960s, my dad developed the American Arab Society and the American Arab Chamber of Commerce in order to supply mostly Aramco, which was the major company in Saudi Arabia.
That was an oil company?
With equipment, and, they needed everything for the whole country.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So we just tried to help him, and my cousin, Dr. Scott, built the King Faisal Hospital there in the capital.
Really? Wow.
My dad loved Arabs.
Yeah, he must have.
And Arab horses.
Yeah, and he sent you over there a lot to take care of business.
Over there a lot, yeah.
Yeah, so you met people like, who was the president of, the dictator president of Egypt that you ran into?
Well, President Sadat really wasn't a dictator.
Yeah, Anwar Sadat.
President Nasser before him,
yes.
I also knew.
Yes, right.
And, I knew most all of the military generals in Egypt and the different ministers of their different entities.
Yeah, and what's neat about it,
Your Excellency, is
yeah, for sure. Yeah. But you became familiar with the king of Saudi Arabia, the Shah of Iran, right? You were involved with him quite a bit.
Yeah.
So everybody in the Middle East, you had been
the French royalty in France.
Yeah.
The Russian Mongolian group that runs.
What a life.
Used to run most of the KGB in Russia.
No kidding.
And my attorney was the assistant to the head general during World War II in Russia.
Wow.
So he worked with our guys with the Russians directly.
Yeah, when you look back, Roy, you must be just in amazement of what kind of life you've had.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I've sure known a lot of people, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, world-renowned folks that we still talk about today. Now, getting back to the Houston area and Texas area, the Marshall family, the Cohen family, as we have been letting our audience know, were very generous folks and cared about the place in which they lived. And tell us about the development of the University of Houston, how important your family was in bringing that to fruition.
Well, most all the buildings that were out there were started by my granddad.
Yeah. In fact, the very first building on the University of Houston was funded by the Cohen family, correct? Yeah. So from those, there it is there,
These are the buildings here that he built the first.
That he built, yeah, wow. Now, was that part of the ranch that he...
No, this is on the south side of Houston.
Oh, okay, in a whole different place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So was it designated as his educational area before your grandfather and parents got involved in that, or what?
No, kind of what happened was Herman Brown developed Brown and Root Construction Company, and his family with another family developed an important institution there called the Rice University.
Rice University, okay.
Yeah, those folks, Mr. Herman and them, were elderly gentlemen to me, but I spent a lot of time with them too.
You did, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, they all gambled all afternoon in the Houston Club. I was 7 or 8 and sit on their lap and watch them get drunk all afternoon.
Oh, no kidding. Wow, what a life, what a life. So anyway, that was your grandfather's and the Marshall's dream was to have this university, and they put a substantial amount of money into developing that university, right?
They really did.
Yeah, what are some of the special programs that they support and still support at the university?
Well, many of them that were founding engineering services that involved the oil companies became a very prominent part of the school, as well as the Hilton School of Restaurants. And then I have been involved with as a trustee of the Educational Trust, developing the Texas Center for Superconductivity, which is more or less becoming a think tank for the government to develop superconductive metals.
Yeah, and then another big interest in your family and supporting it through the buildings and support of the educational part of it is the medical side, right?
Many of the hospitals were built by the family. The Methodist Hospital.
There's a cancer center down there in Houston. What's it called?
Oh, yeah.
The Anderson?
MD Anderson.
MD Anderson. We see it advertised on TV, actually. And they are focused on curing cancer. And your family was a big catalyst.
My mom died of lung cancer, and she gave me $8.5 million.
Oh, well, that's a good starter fund, right?
Barbara Bush was, did her soliloquy or whatever when she died, and which brought even more money into that sector. But I think that the Houston medical centers are probably some of by far the best in the world.
Yeah, and of course we're running out of time, and we have to let Larry do his thing. But the thing is that from those beginnings in Texas, Roy Marshall comes to Nevada, has an interest in Ione, buys Ione, and we already know a lot about what's going on in Virginia City, and especially about your new discovery, which is having to do with platinum, and that is a revolutionary new thing, kind of like your grandfather in that respect, jumping out there and thinking outside the box and finding something nobody else thought was possible. So appreciate you telling the story. I wish we had more time, but we wanted to
do is follow up with a little bit later on as things pan out.
Yeah, sure. We're going to have more stories on this. But Larry had a special treat for you.
Betcha,
and so we're going to have him, what's the name of this rendition?
The Marshall Load.
Yes, the Marshall Load.
Great
so let's
name.
listen to that, and we'll close our show with that. So thanks for being with us. We'll see you next week on Old Tales of Nevada, Past and Present.
Yeah.
Under blue Nevada sky, with a hot sun in his eye, Hugh Roy walked the elk and wild horse trail. Studied earth and sand, with a shovel in his hand. Struck bonanza, gold and silver, platinum ore. Was an old miner's code for good luck to name the strike, so we called it the Marshall Load. Golden trail, silver rose, platinum vein, the Marshall Load. Golden trail, silver rose, so we called it the Marshall Load.